as it has been for the existing, with the exception of
Yeah,
one
it's this
addition.
gray hair, this gray area here is the new, so yes. But yes, we're not
And you're matching
increasing
that
it
to
beyond.
the existing elevation of
Correct.
the garage?
Yes. Yes, we're not encroaching any further than what the existing setback is.
I have no further questions, but I'll direct the question, Ms. Novak?
Talk to me about the shed.
Do you want to take that, Tom, or you want me to start?
Oh, I'm happy to.
Okay. He knows more of the background than I do on that, so,
Yeah, he's got this one.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir, your name?
Tom Meyer.
You swear to answer truthful questions put to you by the members of the board, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
You're the owner.
Yes, my wife and I, yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Usually I'm too loud for microphones. So we had bought this house back in 2017. There was an existing shed, without being exact, it was kind of just in this area, including partially into the easement where the pipe is. From what we were told, the pipe was actually the original pipe from, I want to say the 50s or so, whenever the development had gone in, I believe the mid-50s. It was a corrugated metal pipe that had fully collapsed up to the point that it was causing sinkholes in the yard. I have a video if anybody would like to see it, because that was kind of my argument. Wasn't even an argument, they're actually very kind about it and came to fix it quickly. But it had collapsed essentially most of the yard over here to the point where you could see an arch on the sides of either of the pipe. And then when they dug it out, the Mr. Banquet, who had kind of supervised the program, the repair, had even commented how degraded this entire pipe was to the point where they were pulling out in pieces. So it made a lot of sense that it was kind of causing all these issues in the yard. Those issues were what caused the initial moving of the shed. Before we had them come to fix it, we figured it would be a good time to move it because the sinkholes in the yard had completely collapsed out the the foundation of the shed.
So you located the shed in its current place on the property only a few years ago?
Yeah, only probably very briefly before they actually came and fixed the easement. So just as a little more background, they came, dug up the entire pipe almost entirely through the easement and put a brand new 3-foot plastic pipe. It's a huge pipe because basically we are the drainage for just about the entire neighborhood. Coming over to us through a series, if you looked across the street, there's a little stream over here with the other houses that also goes under the road and into this. So we have an enormous amount of water. I have another video if you care to see of during a heavy rainstorm, it is coming out like a fire
listen,
hydrant.
I think we all appreciate the fact
Oh, okay.
that you had to do repair to the property
Right.
based
So the
on
pipe had
flooding.
collapsed the foundation.
I'm very curious though why the shed was placed so recently in a location on the property that presents significant code compliance issues. You didn't seek a permit at that time for the shed when you put it in the new location?
Completely our fault. We're happy to admit to it. We didn't realize that there was a requirement for moving the shed.
How did you move it?
We have a few friends with a big digger that was able to drag it across the yard and
You
place
still
it over
friends with
there.
them?
I'm sorry?
You still friends with them?
Vaguely, but so the reason that we had
Find
put
their
it
phone
there,
number.
the reason we had put it where it is this is the kind of the side of the yard that we don't necessarily use much because over here, I'm not sure.
If we did that, we would not be in compliant, I mean, we're not, if we did that, we would not be in compliant, I mean, we're not compliant with the distance from the residence as well.
Do you know what the size of that shed is?
I believe, if I remember correctly, it was around 7 by 8, is that right?
Sounds right.
Believe.
The shed, I'm not familiar with that. The shed has to be a certain distance.
They're only allowed so many square feet on the shed. 150 square feet.
No, but that's not what was stated. What was stated is that the shed would be too close to the house.
Isn't there a requirement away from the house?
It's not an auxiliary
It's-
structure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't,
you're talking about the distance to the main structure. Yeah.
It's not an auxiliary, it's not a,
right.
They still have to follow it as a detached accessory.
So that portion is not applicable?
And what is it, measured to the deck, or is it measured to the house that you,
If the deck is attached to the house, it's
Supposed to be the
it's
deck.
measured to the deck.
Right.
What is the distance on that drawing right now between the shed and the corner of the deck?
22.9, sir.
Yes. 22'9". We did think, we did look at that to see if we moved it over, but then felt we were not
So you-
compliant with that portion.
so you chose though to seek a variance, 2 variances for the shed, as opposed to seeking 1 variance for the distance to the structure? I mean, if you had pulled the shed off the lot line, both rear and side, made it compliant, and then sought 1 variance for the distance to the house, simply 1 variance would have been required as opposed to what you need now, which is 2.
That is true.
Or, in theory, so I'm gonna take a step back for my colleague for a second. I'm sorry I had to walk out
That's
to,
okay.
to assist for a moment.
No worries.
The neighbor, if you're looking at your, at the applicant's
Yes.
house and the neighbor to the left, have they expressed any issue with the shed specifically? Okay, do you know what they're gonna say? Sorry.
Well, just to make
Hold
for the
on.
record, Mr. DeChico, you may not be aware, but there were 4 letters that were submitted to the board in support of the application. They were all purportedly neighbors. I'm not sure if we have their appearance here this evening, but there were 4 neighbors who supported the application.
But you anticipate that your neighbors, if they testified, that they would say they don't have a problem with the shed where it is?
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, why don't we just ask?
Okay, well, because I'm trying to keep clarity of the record and to
Right.
give people a chance to come up, and that way we're clear who's talking and what. Okay. And then your neighbor behind you is a bunch of trees and the reservoir? Correct? Okay. Okay.
Yes, I mean, just to give a little background, when we were looking at it, we understand that expense is not a hardship. I get that factor. But when we were looking at the situation and trying to understand, again, whether we should move it closer and seek that variance, and speaking to the neighbors, they were okay with the location of where it was, and we just felt that from a program standpoint for the lot itself, it was in the best spot that we thought it should.
The reason why I asked is because while I do share the concerns about, I understand the desire to put the shed in that corner. It's the furthest away from everything. It just makes sense visually and practically. But it is the most egregious place to put it as far as the code compliance.
Understood. And they understand that now, that they are aware of it, yes.
If we're analyzing impact, I personally not so much worried about impact of anybody behind you, because there is nobody behind you, and there is going to be nobody behind you for the foreseeable future because of the nature of that property. I would have a concern with your neighbors to the other side, because it's not, and the issue that we have to think about is, while the neighbors currently there now might not have a problem, the next people that move in may say, why is this big shed on my property line? So we have to balance those interests as well.
Understood.
I mean, routinely, we never allow a shed to be so close to lot lines, let alone rear and side. I understand, obviously, that aesthetically, it allows you to have the maximum amount of usable space in the rear yard, which is desirable for every applicant.
20 foot, with building on Mr. DeChico's comments, is there any way that we can move it, looking at it towards you, to the right, looking at the picture, and keeping it within that, we'll say 20, we'll just keep it at 22 feet. Forget about the 9 inches. To try to decrease the closeness to their neighbor's line, property line? I mean, I'm not worried, just like Mr. Chico, on the land going to the reservoir, because that's probably never gonna be developed the way the water supply is. But that property line to the left,
So shifting it to the east, you're saying?
shifting it towards you, if that's the east, I
Yep.
don't have a,
Now, right now, they're seeking 8 feet on that sideline.
No, but right
I
now.
wasn't clear on the
right now,
22 feet.
There's only
Right.
2 feet.
Right, so
There's
they're
1 foot in
seeking
the
an
back.
8-foot. If they
Yeah, off of
move
the
it
10.
over, we could decrease this down to
You'd
7,
be
6, 5,
decreasing
4,
that,
3.
but you'd also be increasing the distance from that neighbor's line
Understood.
for anything down in the future because if we approve where it is now, it's approved for whoever buys the house.
Right,
If that
understood.
ever is the case down the road.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just looking in the big scheme.
Yeah.
Taking it to the point of your community stays a community, but,
So you're suggesting, just so I'm clear, taking it where the plane that it's currently in and shifting it
if
east,
you're
how far?
shifting it that way, I don't see that distance from the shed decreasing.
Right, right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, to Mr. Lapasos's comment of you have the phone number for the machine, you know, either that or get a bunch of good friends with strong backs and
That's how it started.
Been there.
So
just slide it over to lessen that variance.
to lessen it or to
Yeah, no,
meet the 10
I'm
feet?
not, well, if you want to pull it 10 feet, that eliminates it. I mean,
I think
that's up to you
sometimes
guys. I'm
we
trying
want-
to lessen it.
Right,
To at least give some space
Right.
along that line. So
Yep.
God forbid, the neighbor doesn't like you guys anymore and they put a fence up.
I
You
can't,
know,
I can't say.
I can't just assume based on that, you could annoy each other somehow, I don't know, and this crazy world we live in.
Now, they have a chain link fence.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of room to walk through,
Sure,
so, you know.
So I understand you're looking, it seems to me you're looking for some guidance as to what might be applicable. For me, in this case, and I don't speak for every member of the board, and it would certainly depend on what we're finally presented with and all the factors put together, but I think the board usually, in most cases, has trouble with variances over 50%. That's when a lot of red flags start to go up in the air. So, and usually it's something 50% or less, again, depending on the circumstances, you know, those are more palatable, generally speaking. Like, I believe that's a more or less fair statement, but everybody else might have a different opinion.
So I think, you know, from my point, it'd be more favorable just to, I mean, I don't think you're losing, I mean, you're not losing property you won't be able to use. You know, if you come over, say even a quarter of that distance, or even half, I mean, you present back to us, I'm just giving suggestions to lessen that to, I mean, if you want to take a second and chat, and we can ask on who's,
Can
for or
huddle up.
against.
Yeah, I'm certainly, if the response is, you know, we need to move it somehow, we're certainly open to it. The reason why I think we applied for it as is we weren't sure what those limits would be in order to make it reasonable. It was more of like, instead of us going in and doing it ourselves a couple feet and then coming in and you guys saying, no, it's gotta be the full 10, then instead of moving it twice, you know. So, yeah, I think, we appreciate the possibility of leaving, you know, against the DEP land since there is no neighbor concern. If it does take a shifting a few feet, I think that's west, by the way, because I think we're facing south, just for the record. Get myself all turned around. Yeah, that would be, we could certainly consider that, and that seems like a fair compromise.
All right. So for example, are you able to tell us if you moved it over an additional 3.04 feet? So to get a
5, that's what I was going to
five-
suggest.
If you did that, hypothetically, would that impact the distance would that trigger a new variance for the distance to the deck? Because if it doesn't, then that's something that you could just
Right.
orally change tonight, and then everybody could opine on that and vote however they saw fit. But if it does trigger a separate variance, then that would have to, have you renotice and come back.
Right.
I mean, by the looks of it, Mr. Chico, on the map, I don't think so, on the drawings. Because the back lot goes on an angle.
What's it called? The distance in square.
20?
Is it, I was just going to ask, can somebody remind me what the distance,
So they have 3
is it
feet to
20 feet?
20 feet.
Use 20 feet.
And if you do go out, as Mr. DeChico says, to 5 feet, in other zones, it's a 5 foot off the property.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
That would be another
It's,
option.
yeah, it's shorter. The
Right.
door's facing this
Right.
way.
See, what in effect we could do is we could grant a variance, not for the 8.04 feet you've requested,
Right,
but one
but
for
for
5
five.
feet.
Sure.
Right.
And then you could figure
Right.
out how
How to
best
make that work.
to
How to
meet
orient
that
it.
requirement.
Right.
But that
Yes.
would be, I think what the board is leaning toward at this point is giving you the opportunity to have a non-compliant shed, just not as non-compliant as originally submitted,
Right.
but something more reasonable, 50% variance would
Yep.
bring it to 5 feet.
Well, and the other thing, you know, to your point, you really don't need your friend's phone number, because if you're doing a construction, you're gonna have equipment on site that can probably slide it over for you also. Either that or train your two boys to
They're
get
too
strong
little.
real fast.
They might be able to do it if we give them all their Halloween candy.
Yes, we would be agreeable to that, and then if for some reason we couldn't get it to work out, we would return for that portion.
Do we want at this point invite any members of the community to, anybody who wants to be heard in support or against the application? Do you want to come on the record and state that, or?
He was just here himself.
Yeah.
Hey, you were just at this board too.
Okay, again, your name?
Mark Paracelli, 24 Pine Road.
Swear to answer truthfully all questions put to you by the board, so help you
Do.
God? Thank you. Okay, and your position with regard to the variances that are sought by,
All right, his shed's here, my fence is right here. I don't have a problem with being against there, actually it works out great because the kids are constantly going this way or that. It's just utilizing the space.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anybody else in the back?
Anyone else want to be heard?
They don't wanna be approved.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point then, I think we have no additional comments from the community. Any additional questions from any members of the board? Ms. Novak, Mr. DeChico, anything further?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, anything further?
No.
Mr. Dorr?
No. With that being said, Mr. Acting Chairman for this one, I make the motion to approve this with the modification of changing the variance requesting 8.4 feet down to 5.4 feet,
That's just 5 feet.
or 5 feet. So I don't know what the 4 inches was. I mean,
Okay, so just to clarify, you're proposing to approve the first front yard setback application as submitted, the second rear yard setback for the shed as submitted, and the third side yard setback for the shed to 5 feet as opposed to the application originally for 8.04 feet. Is that
That's
right?
correct, sir.
I'll second that application.
Adrian?
Approve.
Aye.
Approved.
5-0. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
All right, good luck. Enjoy.
Mr. Chairman or Acting Chairman, whoever's
No,
talking,
it's the chairman. I'm not the acting chairman. He's the chairman.
I make a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion by Mr. Dorr to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say
Aye.
aye. That's it, we're adjourned.